The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer of 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. Joint County Commission and Board of Health meeting, September 15th, 2021.
Most Shane is going to be here tonight. His father's he's in the hospital, so I don't know that he may be here, but he may not. So if he's here right at 9, we're good. If not, that's the reason.
He's on his way.
Okay, so here's something. Okay.
Oh, ta-da.
No, Shane.
We just shoot it, set fire to it.
Yeah, I think so. I do. I got the hair. Share that one. Are you ready, Shane?
I'm ready to run.
Good morning and welcome to the Wednesday, September 15th Special Joint County Commission Board and Board of Public Health meeting here on this 9 o'clock Wednesday, September 15th. So would you all please stand and join us in the pledge?
Ian, why don't you lead us?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as is normal, take the first moment for meditation, prayer, or reflection, whatever you'd like. So a moment of silence before we start. Okay, at this time, I'm going to recess the regular county commission meeting, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to the public health officer, because this is a public health special meeting. And so at this time, we'll recess the county commission meeting, turn it over to Mr. Coons.
Hey, appreciate it this morning. It feels like it's right in people's faces there. We will go ahead and convene the meeting of public health. Just for audience understanding, the first thing we do is we have a public comment period. You're limited to 3 minutes of comments. And if you'd like to come up, it's your prerogative at this time.
Good morning. My name is Adam Young, Superintendent of the White Pine County School District. I want to thank you for everything that you do on behalf of our county. I recognize that you have many variables to consider in your positions as commissioners. And as a born and raised White Pine kid, I appreciate the sacrifices that you make to govern, and I honor and respect the time that you give. Recently, you mailed out some information to businesses regarding the county's reopening plan. This plan was drafted last spring. I had the opportunity to meet with Commissioner Carson, Commissioner Howe, Dr. Coons, Nurse Pierce, District Attorney Beecher, and Mr. North at various times about the plan. At the time, with 0 to no active cases, I fully supported it. I acknowledge that desiring students to be on campus for learning in person is only one of the many issues that you have to deal with. But it is my understanding that you support the school district's efforts to ensure that that's what we have for our students. For that reason, at this time, as the superintendent of schools, I urge you as the county commission to reconsider the plan that you drafted last spring. Here's why. We currently have 40 active cases among students in the school district. Yesterday, we had more than 170 student absences due to quarantine of family members. If the spread continues, if it doesn't slow, it is my fear that we'll be forced into distance learning very soon. Even though we didn't want to, we changed our masking requirements recently for students to not only mitigate the spread of the virus on campus, but also to limit the number of students and staff who have to quarantine because they're close contacts. This, in addition to the layered mitigation strategies already in place, we hope to limit the spread on our campuses. We are doing our part. In the summer of 2020, district staff went to Herculean efforts to create conditions for schools to fully open in the fall and to stay fully open. Other school districts resorted to hybrid learning and pods, and a number of them left students at home full time. I'm proud of what we did. I'm proud of what we're doing now. Having schools open was and is the right decision for our community, but each day it's getting harder due to the dramatic increases in cases and quarantines. We do need some assistance and encouragement from you as a commission and from the community as a whole. The school district does support local business and the local economy, but how will it be good for businesses and the economy if we are forced into a close down and parents have to be at home instead of at work? Speaking on behalf of the school district, this is not about politics for us, it's not about ideology, but it is about practicality. And I'm here to respectfully ask you to consider any measures that would help mitigate the spread of the virus in the community as a whole, so that we can keep our students in school. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Craycraft, and as Mr. Young just stated, we are here to ask for your help and your support keeping our schools open. I'm here on behalf of White Pine High School Student Council, and we really are struggling with the amount of rising cases that have happened. In every class that I'm in, there's at least 3 or 4 kids gone daily. We are on the verge of getting shut down again, and this would be a worst case scenario for us. Our sports teams are already struggling to play, and they've been shut down the past 2 weeks with athletes at home quarantined. Our underclassmen who have come into high school, their first or second year, we're looking at their 3rd year now, they have not witnessed a normal high school year with normal activities yet. We are working as hard as we can to get them back to being that close, and we're looking at our seniors who are, again, on the verge of being shut down, which is really hard for me personally because I am a senior this year, and I've seen the past 2 years as seniors have struggled and been forced into adapting to the changes that have been necessary because of our pandemic. And looking at it this year, as we continue to rise in cases, a lot of kids are struggling with their mental health when they're at home. For some kids, home is a hard environment to be at. When we get shut down and we get sent home, with our mental health struggles and motivation struggles, we watched all of our kids lose the motivation. I myself personally struggled with both. I know a lot of teachers who have struggled. I live in a teacher household. I watched my mom go through trying to teach online, trying to be at home, trying to help her kids. So this would really be a hard thing to watch. All of our athletes, all of our students, everyone just be completely cut off. As we came out of quarantine last year, we took every precaution necessary so that we could open again, which meant wearing masks, which meant being careful, tracing our steps, everything. And we had a lot of support from you guys and our community, which helped us stay open all of last year, even if we couldn't have our normal activities right away. Again, we are asking for this same support and our same help from this community again so that we can stay open. We ask you to revise your mask mandate, thinking about our school districts. Thank you.
Matt Walker with the hospital. So as you know, we're seeing a COVID surge nationwide, certainly countywide. We at the hospital, we're apolitical. We believe in science as it comes available and utilizing medicine accordingly. We've invested and spent millions on medications, equipment, PPE, and infrastructure to deal with this pandemic. We use everything from hydroxychloroquine to Regeneron to treat our patients. We're currently looking at ivermectin. Our county certainly has been impacted by COVID, but until recently it's been a pretty minimal impact, really. I have multiple calls every week, like 3 or 4 calls every week, one with national hospitals, one with Nevada state hospitals, and then one with the Western United States hospitals, where we can coordinate together, pool resources, and kind of see what's working, what's not, and just brainstorm ideas. So I want to come in today and let you know, I don't believe in scare tactics. I think the media and the politicians have been playing the public, and we're falling right into their playbook because they're trying to divide and cause hate and discontent among one another. I'm a firm believer in education, not indoctrination. Part of the issue with this is, who do you trust? How do you know where to get the information that's legitimate? I don't have the answer. I can tell you it's rarely Facebook. But I can tell you that whatever decisions we make at the hospital, we're looking at peer-reviewed medical journals. We look at reputable sources that contrive their data from incredibly intense studies done by a bunch of socially awkward people who sit in a lab and often have no idea what's going on in the real world. They're not the type of people that are trying to manipulate the world. That said, the media and politicians, they'll take that information and twist it into whatever wild fantasy that they want people to believe. So due to the politicization and incredible misinformation of this disease, it's been an uphill battle for us at the hospital to do what's best in the medical interest of patients. I want to simply come this morning and let you know where we are today, what the numbers are. And again, these are just facts. It's not scare tactics. It's just simply what we're seeing. So our COVID ward that we set up 20 months ago, we were set up for a maximum of 4 patients. And since COVID came to Ely, we've never really had more than that. We did have 5 patients at one point, but it was a short time. For the most part, we're usually around 2 patients, 2 to 0. I mean, it's really hasn't impacted us a lot. Surrounding hospitals, Winnemucca, Fallon, for instance, and a number of others over the past 20 months, they've been impacted. They've been beyond capacity. They have had some pretty bad outcomes because of their lack of staffing and too many patients. But again, we just haven't really seen that here at Ely. We've been pretty fortunate. That is until this past week. On Thursday, we got hit with 6 patients, so we had to move our COVID wing. We had to put plastic up and take about half of our hospital med-surg wing for COVID patients. Then on Saturday, Sunday, we had 8 patients, and it's kind of been fluctuating. We have 6 currently, or at least last I looked this morning. We had 6. And that number of patients, it may not seem like a lot. You're thinking, wow, 6, that's not a lot. But our staffing also isn't a lot because our hospital is pretty small. And COVID patients are incredibly time-consuming, time-intensive. They're on high-flow oxygen. We have to prone them. We have to do a lot of charting and a lot of vitals constantly. And so it's pretty taxing on our staff. We are nearing capacity with our staffing when we sit at the 8. Plus we have general medical patients in the hospital on top of the COVID patients. And so we're getting at a point where we're a bit concerned at the hospital from a capacity standpoint. We also are seeing a number of patients in our ER that don't have COVID, but they need a higher level of care. But due to all the patients that we have in our hospital and all the other hospitals have in their hospital, we're not able to get our patients into other hospitals. They're on divert, meaning they don't take patients. And not COVID patients, I mean like a patient having a heart attack. So we've had a number of patients who have sat in our ER for 1 to 3 days with a pretty serious condition who definitely need a higher level of care, but they can't get it because no hospital's able to take them. During that time, of course, irreversible damage is occurring to their heart and brain. Our ER docs lament to me almost every day about how difficult it is to find placement for these critical patients. In fact, the reason I was a bit late this morning is because Dr. Rollins pinned me down and talked to me for about a half hour. He said, on average, they're calling 7 to 10 hospitals before they can find one with an open bed. We're transferring anywhere from California, Washington to Arizona, as well as the other hospitals around us using those spaces as well. So obviously that takes time when you're calling 7 to 10 hospitals to find a bed. And then he said within the last 24 hours, he sent 3 people home that really needed a higher level of care, but the hospital said we can't take them, we don't have room. Our suggestion is give them some instructions, do the best you can and send them home. And if it gets worse, have them come back. So that's just 3 in the last 24 hours. Let's see, I received a call last night, just as I was almost done at work, a little after 6, let me know that the Elko Hospital's on divert. Then they've asked all outlying areas to take their ambulances to other hospitals. They don't want ER, they don't want ambulances coming to their ER. So Eureka let me know that they will take all their patients here, which again increases our numbers of patients, both COVID and non. So again, increasing my concern about capacity at the hospital. As I've said multiple times before, I'm not into politics, I'm not into scare tactics. The stuff I've mentioned above is all facts. We're also probably going to be out of COVID tests starting probably today because we've had a huge uptick in testing. And when we have a huge uptick in testing, it's usually because people are feeling sick or they've been exposed, which means we're probably going to have more COVID, which means statistically we'll have more hospitalizations. So all the testing, I mean, will still continue, but we're just gonna have to send it out to LabCorp, so the turnaround time is gonna be extended here shortly. And of course, with supply chain issues, we just can't get any more right now. Obviously, we're working on it. We got like 10 different orders, 10 different places that we're trying to get more, but keep you updated there. I don't know what the answer is, but I do, and I know that you guys are in an extremely difficult spot. I'm asking that you consider any risk mitigating strategies to help curb this surge. I can't say before something happens because bad things are happening currently, but before it gets worse. I can tell you masks do help decrease the spread. I'm not saying it eliminates it, I'm not saying that it fixes it, but it does help decrease it. Again, this is your job to discuss, not mine, but at the very least, if the county commission could at least recommend that people wear masks, stand behind it. I don't want to infringe on anyone's rights, but we would appreciate the recommendation for masks, and same with vaccines, same thing. We are seeing, in fact, I've got a little graphic for you that might help you see how vaccines really do help. And this is from the Joint Commission. You can see the purple are deaths from, it's a 1-week period in August. These are deaths. Purple is deaths of people unvaccinated. Yellow is people who were vaccinated who died. Statistically, I mean, it's statistics. I love statistics because they work. Math always works, and this is what we're seeing in our community as well. So I know a lot of people are like, well, who's making this data? It's probably all fake. Well, I doubt it because it's exactly what we're seeing here, so it makes sense you could extrapolate it nationwide. So again, just a recommendation from you guys, supporting vaccines and masking, I think could go a long way. Let's see, what else do I have? I'm almost done, I apologize. Really, that's about it. I would just implore you guys to really help us to do anything we can to reduce the spread, or at least decrease the spread so that we don't get overwhelmed with the hospital. We're basically overwhelmed right now, but we're not. I'm just concerned about what might be coming if we don't do anything. So that's my ask to you. Thanks for your time.
Any further public comment?
You have Shannon Pierce online.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Shannon with Public Health. I just wanted to let you guys know where we're at too. Public health is suffering. We do COVID all day long. That's all we do. We COVID test constantly all day long in our back alleys. We vaccinate as much as we can. Our regular patients are suffering. We can't get them in. We can't get birth control in. We can't get child immunizations in. And we are exhausted. It's definitely a problem. We're suffering. We're doing, 40, 50, 60 COVID tests a day, trying to get as many vaccines as we can, and the rest of the population is having to wait because we don't have time to do anything other than COVID.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay. Seeing none, I will appreciate those that have made their comments. I'll go ahead and open line item number 1, discussion for possible action, approval to consider amending the local mitigation enforcement plan in light of COVID bed capacity at William B. Ryrie Hospital. Discussion, anything?
I was on the tour yesterday with you and Matt and somebody else. I was at the hospital. And one thing caught my eye when I was there, as we walked down and we didn't go into the COVID area that they've had to expand to on the, it looks like the north wing, northeast wing. And it looks like if you've seen a science fiction movie where they're in there with nuclear waste and they've got all these masks and stuff like that, and they got a big white curtain there. And it really caught my eye, because it's like these poor people that are in there are suffering, but we can't go in. We didn't go in because of the risks that are involved. So all the patients that are in the hospital, I toured through what they normally had right across from the front desk, where they had the 4 beds, and now they've had to expand. And it's really scary to look at that white curtain that sits there, and you're at the other end of the hall, knowing that beyond that curtain, people are suffering and they're in bad shape. And they've had to expand that hospital. It was really an eye-opener for me. I mean, I was invited there, and I appreciate the fact. But as I look at what we passed back when on the mask mandate, and I thought about it during the night, what steps can we as a commission take? We don't want to infringe on anybody's rights. We don't want to, but we need to educate. And I think that's the key word in the whole concept, is to educate everybody that we possibly can, those that are not vaccinated. And what I'm really looking at is the severe cases of non-vaccinated as opposed to the vaccinated, and the probably a little illness now, but they'll recover. But those that aren't vaccinated and aren't educated enough, and their children, one of the schools in the county, their whole 2nd grade is on quarantine. It's shut, it's gone. These kids aren't going, so it trickles down from the parents to the child. We don't need our children sick, we don't need our schools closed, but we need to do what we can, because if we can educate the parents, then they can educate the children. It's kind of a stepped process. And I was really taken aback by just, man, I'm glad I'm not in there. I am vaccinated, but as we look forward to what we can or cannot do as a county commission, there's different ideas out there. So I came up with one of my own, and I'm just gonna, and each commissioner will get to speak. And one of the things I thought of is, and I mentioned
Commissioner Howe, I think the DA and them would have us open item number 2, so let's go ahead and open item 2. Discussion for possible action, approval to implement steps, strategies, curb the spread, keep public educated, or for any other process to protect and inform the White Pine County as discussed. So now please continue.
He's catching on, I like that.
All right, catching on.
and I don't wanna take over the meeting, so to speak, but I really wanna reflect on you have to have ideas. You have to throw something out there that might work. The first thing I brought up at the last meeting was have all of our department heads, and this is just for the county, speak to their employees about the importance of vaccination as opposed to not being vaccinated. Not mandating that they vaccinate, but really educate each one of those people within our boundaries. And other districts can speak to the same. But that's number 1. If we do something else, and we're talking about implementing a strategy, one of the ones I've come up with to kind of not undo totally what we did back when, but is for right now, for a 30 to 45 day period, we re-implement the mask mandate throughout the county, and go that, so we can get through this critical stage that we're in. And we are in a critical stage, believe me. I was there, and when I hear about a whole classroom of school kids that are home, and maybe have brothers and sisters there, one of the students spoke about no sports teams. What can we as a county do? And I'm only speaking for myself, what I thought of last night, and those are the 2 things. Number 1, educate all of our employees as to the benefits of being vaccinated as opposed to not being vaccinated. So that would be number 1. Number 2 would be to implement a 45-day, not a scare one like we're under quarantine for an indefinite period, but to implement a 45-day or 30-day, whatever the commission's desire would be, to go back into mass, because we are, the director of the hospital just told us how critical it is. There's no hospitals to send anybody that got in a car wreck. We live 250 miles away, and we need to fly people out. But that being said, I just, as I thought after I made that tour yesterday, what do I think would be a good start, or something that can help us move forward. And I know that there are people who, it's a political, but this isn't political. This is about sick people and about trying to eradicate a bad thing, or as much as we can eradicate it, but we can at least slow it down and try to get us back to where we were a month ago, and where we were able to free to do as we please, and the mask mandates were lifted statewide. But right now, White Pine County, I'm speaking only of White Pine County, and the critical patients and the students that we have that aren't able to participate in school, and the danger of them going into home learning again. We did that. My son's a teacher in Vegas, and that's not, he hasn't had a classroom for almost a year, and he's back in now. But trying to just throw an idea out there to this commission of what we can and cannot do to try to start something to help everybody move forward. I am vaccinated, my family is, everybody is, but I don't want anybody, the process that, and it's proof. Those that are vaccinated aren't dying, those that are not are. And it's a shot, it's available, it's free. Just try to get your people, your families vaccinated and educated. And our job is our employees, White Pine County employees. We aren't going to the city or to the restaurants or anything. We just need to educate everybody. And how many employees do we have here? 120? I have 120 employees who have families of 4. Let's say that's 480 individuals. But
So it's a big chunk of the county that not only that you employ as a commission, but that are part of the White Pine County family, for lack of a better term. I don't want to hear any motions, I just want to hear ideas, and then we can take motions after we've all had a chance. At the very least, I would suggest in our county employees and our buildings that we require masks all the time. That's one idea. It shows the public where we're at. They come into our building, they need to have a mask on. Our employees are masked up. Smart business. You're not gonna have to shut down the road department if I start all of a sudden have to quarantine 3 people. You're not gonna have to shut down the county clerk's office when 2 of her employees gets it, or even if one of them get it and they were all exposed. So it makes good business sense. One of the things you guys have fought very hard, I think, is for our businesses in this county have been impacted by this pandemic. And I've appreciated that. I appreciated your passion to try to keep a commerce going. How disrespectful of us in our discussions we've had that we've said, yeah, we actually sent a letter, this commission sent a letter saying, you don't have to wear a mask, we passed a mandate. Or we didn't pass, we overrode the governor's mandates. We had our own mandate against the mandate. Doesn't make sense. There's businesses in this town that have literally shut down within the last week because they don't have any employees left to run it. That's sad.
Because people are getting paid to stay home, that's nothing to do with the pandemic.
Well, I don't know about that, Commissioner Bullis, but I do know in visiting with these people, they chose to do the right thing and shut their business, and their business is not available to give them funding nor short-term, not disability, but workers' comp or pay or whatever it is. So that's gone away. So there's a couple ideas, okay? So we're not voting, we're just talking. Mask mandates in all our county buildings. It was proposed by a public comment. Send out a letter of support saying we encourage masks, we encourage vaccines. We're not forcing you, but we're asking you, this is something we can do. Commissioner Howe, I thought that was good. Hey, let's put an ending point. Hey, we're gonna ask you to wear a mask for 45 days. 45 days, we're gonna reevaluate and see if we can say, forget the mask. Here, there, anywhere. Please, I'm sure you guys also have ideas. What else can we do? Commissioner Godon.
So my thought is it's gonna, it takes an effort to get this in place, but it looks like from what I've read, whether it's true or not, caveat there, that if people get the Regeneron, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine within the first, 2 or 3 days of becoming, ill with this, that greatly reduces, hospitalizations and severe cases. So why not I know supplies are short and would take a while to get this going, going, but whenever anyone tests positive, they have the option, but, within 24 hours, the same day, they can get whatever treatment they wanna go with.